my posse. Skip that 2-minute thing, Brian. In 1963, the fall of 1963, President Kennedy presented the Congressional Gold Medal to Bob Hope. And on that occasion, Hope remarked, "I feel very humble, but I believe I have the strength of character to fight it." I like receiving awards. It's a validation of hard work. And when it comes to Baldrige Awards, you all know that it's a team effort. And so my posse is here today. If they'd stand up, these are the people that did almost all of the heavy lifting. And I also was in Baltimore last week, and I heard both Janet and Joanne take their turn at the podium and give acknowledgement to the hard work of their teams. And in fact, they both said that their teams were the coolest teams ever. I know Joanna's laughed, but Janet, sorry to disappoint you, but this is the coolest team ever. About 6 months ago, one of our fellows here, Yoda, he was the voice you heard earlier. Some of you were in his session later. I'm not going to make him stand up. If you haven't met him, you will sooner or later. He's had his hand on the rudder of our Baldrige ship for the last 8 years, and I wouldn't be standing here today if I wasn't for Yoda. Thank you. In fact, he said 6 months ago that if we were to score 65 on either category item 6.1 or 6.2, which has really been the bane for us, that process, work system, operations category that does seem to have been written in a foreign language. But we did score above 65 on one of those two items, and so he said that if we did, he would shave his head. And I think that might happen as early as tomorrow, and I will tweet that picture to y'all when that happens. Paul noted that we've kind of been on an incremental 4-step journey. And 4 years ago, when we received the second level recognition, I told my team if we would ever receive the excellence level that I would retire. That hadn't happened since the mid-90s, so it seemed fairly safe. And we're the Winona people. That's kind of a bummer, the alphabet. You guys get to be the third Benedictine, and then Cardinal, and then Winona is going to be the third organization to receive that level here in the last 20 or so years. But when I told my team that, I think Michael kind of summed up the feeling of our entire senior leader team. We write about my dog, Boy. He used to come to the office with me a lot more than he does now. He's kind of fond of staying home and napping. But when I told the team that I would retire, he said, "Well, what about Boy? We'll miss Boy." And you all know that I never miss an opportunity to tell how I feel about Brian. And I know that many of you have a really key word that would best describe him. I do as well. That would be nefarious. So when I met Brian 8 years ago, I thought it was odd. He was carrying a red Solo cup in his hand. And of course, you all know what was in that cup. It was Baldrige Kool-Aid. And I took a sip of that. He tricked me. I took a sip of that Kool-Aid. And if it wasn't for Brian, I wouldn't be standing here today as well. So. I got to refer to my notes here. So these cards are our OFIs from our first 3 Baldrige feedback reports. Each one of these contained an OFI, about 120 of them. So we've been working on for the last 6 years. I don't have the OFIs from, at least printed anyway, from our current feedback report. I just received that Saturday. I haven't read it yet. My son was driving back to Philadelphia from Gettysburg across the countryside in Pennsylvania, and I saw there were a lot of OFIs in there. And so I decided not to read them right away. But I will, and within a week or so, they'll be on the magnetic whiteboard down the hall from my office, and more Kool-Aid for my team to drink. A couple other things. My wife is here in the front. She's Cardinal's CPR. That's chief proofreader. She's spent hundreds and hundreds of very exasperating hours proofreading our application. I've read a couple dozen applications, and I really think ours is the best written one. Michael and Buff deserve most of the credit for that. Well done. And then I only know, besides the word kibitz, I only know 3 words in Yiddish. Kavel mit nachas. And that means my heart swells with pride. And all 3 of my children are here as well. They're now adults. They were kindergartners and first graders when Cardinal was started. And they all sent me very congratulatory, very kind words when they heard that we had received this recognition. And you know, when your kids at some point transform from viewing you as their arch nemesis to someone that they're actually proud of, that's a pretty red letter day. I'd like to share with you just a few words that my daughter Michelle wrote to me. She says, I remember calls from your first client, Russell, every night as we sat down to dinner, whether it was 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock. How did he always know? I remember you beginning your legacy with just a couple homes. I remember a 2-line phone, which none of my other friends had. I remember AOL and a cordless headset that my friends and I got to play Office with. You have been an exceptional leader, teacher, and father. You have inspired me in many ways and stages throughout my life. I'm very proud to be your daughter, and I know I am who I am because of your guidance, leadership, and love. Congratulations again on your well-deserved successes and achievement. Kavel mit nakas.